Luca is a brand new Disney Pixar film that has just come out on Disney Plus for free. It's kind of weird how they decide which ones you have to pay $30 for and which ones are free, but hey, I'm perfectly fine with the Pixar ones being free. Anyways, this Italian-inspired adventure follows sea creatures Luca and Alberto as they leave the sea, transform into humans, and explore the surface world, meeting new friends, eating delicious foods, and trying their hardest to gain access to their deepest desire, a Vespa. It's really weird because it feels like Pixar movies used to be these giant, huge blockbuster events that everybody looked forward to, kind of like how Marvel movies are now. But Luca just came out with like no buzz at all. It's like Disney didn't advertise anything for it. I've barely seen any trailers for it. There's just like there was no buzz. It's free. They just kind of dropped it on Disney Plus. But also, I guess it's kind of a hard movie to market because Luca is definitely a movie that you watch more for the characters and the tone than for the story. Plotless, character-focused films can work, but the writers add enough story to the point where it just feels lackluster rather than intentional. I feel like they wanted to just focus on the character setting and tone, but were scared to, so they tried to appropriate it into an adventure film. They really needed to go all in on one or the other, but the story as is really feels like it needed a few more drafts. Honestly, it's pretty simple and messy. Some character motivations just appear so that the narrative can be pushed forward. For example, I'm not going to spoil it, but near the end of the film, Luca's motivations completely switch from wanting one thing to the other, and there's really no point to it. There's not a thematic reason for it to happen, and it really seems like they just wanted to get another character involved in the ending that didn't belong there. There's really not a strong theme or message at all in Luca, besides a fairly generic be yourself and don't care what others think. I mean, compared to even Pixar's previous movie Soul, which dealt with themes of existence, passion, and even the meaning of life, Luca feels a little lackluster in that department. I mean, come on, this theme's already been done perfectly 20 years ago in one of the greatest films in cinematic history. But besides just the themes, Luca's very formulaic in general, with tropes like the strict mother and stupid father, one friend getting jealous of a new friend for taking the old friend, the friends getting mad at each other near the end of the second act, and water being a metaphor for freedom. That's never happened in a Disney movie before. But speaking of that specific metaphor, this film borrows a lot from The Little Mermaid, such as the opening scene revolving around one of the sea monsters following a boat at night, a hidden alcove full of everyday human objects that are fascinating to the sea creatures having to get taught how to walk, and jokes about fish people seeing people eat fish. I mean, at least in The Little Mermaid, there was a whole song about it. Les poissons, les poissons. It might sound like I'm ragging on Luca, but the plot is really the only thing that needs some serious work. It's actually mostly made up for by the tones and characters, and in that department there's a lot to praise. Luca is beautifully Italian, and you can tell how much love was put into crafting the tone, setting, music, and costume design of the film. The music especially helped sell this, with the original score and the real Italian songs both being fantastic. The film is so Italian that I am genuinely terrified that the Italy Pavilion in Epcot is just going to basically become a Luca area. Who am I kidding? Disney didn't even market the movie. They're sure as heck not going to make a theme park ride out of this. Luca actually has a lot of film references, such as several references to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and other sea monster movies. It also has several references to films that take place in Italy, like Roman Holiday, and references to Italian films in general, most of which went over my head. Luca is especially referential to Studio Ghibli films, with even the Porco Rosso race being a reference to the film Porco Rosso. Porco Rosso? Rosso? Porco Rosso? I have no idea. This film actually feels a lot like a Ghibli film, which it apparently took a lot of inspiration from, and it pulls off the tone pretty well. The plot of Luca is fairly simple, but it mainly focuses on characters just vibing and enjoying life, which I wish more animated films did. There's lots of shots of Luca and Alberto just staring in wonder at this tiny town that rests on the Italian Riviera, and these characters find this vastly different world from their own to be majestic. I guess you could say for them it's a breath of fresh air. Why aren't you laughing? There's also a ton of scenes dedicated to making and consuming food, which is common in nearly every Ghibli movie. The various pastas and sauces and copious amounts of gelato made me so hungry that I went and got a meatball sub. The finest of Italian cuisine. Another aspect reminiscent of Ghibli films is the time period. There are no specific references to exactly when Luca is set, but the way in which the setting is presented makes the film feel almost timeless. I'm assuming it was set in the 50s just because of a few background details like the movie posters, but exactly when it takes place is never explicitly stated, which I really enjoyed. Most of the vocal performances are pretty strong, and all the characters serve their purpose well in the plot, with nobody feeling pointless. The sea monster designs are actually really fun, and are one of the best aspects of the movie. Sacha Baron Cohen actually plays a sea creature that is only in one scene, but he's one of the best designed and most fun characters in the entire film. However, the same cannot be said for the human designs. The style of this movie varies vastly from the traditional Pixar style, giving the characters more caricaturized designs. The only way I can think to describe it is that it's a lot like the Professor Layton designs, and much like Professor Layton, a lot of the designs are really fun, but just as many are not appealing, with some, especially the bully Ercole, actually being really hard to look at. Since the art style is so unique, it's pretty easy to look over the lesser designs, but still some of the human designs aren't as great as the fantastic sea monster designs. However, I have the exact opposite feeling about the setting. For a film about sea monsters, the underwater is surprisingly bland and incredibly empty. There's not as much creativity put into the setting, and it's basically just water and rocks, which is kinda sad compared to the incredibly wild and varied character designs. The only tiny smidgen of creativity put into the SeaWorld is that Luca and his family are farmers, something that is also shared with another much worse Pixar movie. However, the extent of that idea is literally making the fish baa like a sheep and having Luca herd them into a hole in a rock. Contrasted with that, the human world is a beautiful full landscape full of lush greenery, a beautiful sky and sea, and a really fun town design. The buildings are tall and tightly packed, the design of the decorations are both beautiful and ominous due to their fish-killing aesthetic, and everything in general is brightly colored and perfectly gives off the Italian vibe the creators wanted it to. The town design is probably the aspect that does most of the legwork in making Luca feel like a Ghibli film, feeling old yet new, grounded yet fantastical, rural yet alive, and familiar yet wonderful. Maybe it's my blind love for Pixar overshadowing the structural flaws in the film, but I really enjoyed Luca. The beautiful animation, setting, music, and tone really made this movie a joy to watch, and it feels like Luca was the graceful transition to computer animation for Ghibli that Earwig and the Witch should have been. I think kids and dumb adults may get bored because not much happens, but I think for Pixar's older fans this will be a fun treat to watch. While it's not the best Pixar film, it's definitely not the worst, and that's why I'm giving Luca a 7 out of 10. If you like Studio Ghibli films, I recommend watching Luca, and if you like this film, I strongly suggest watching some of Studio Ghibli's library. My Neighbor Totoro is tonally a lot like this, with it also being my favorite of their films, but pretty much anything of theirs is a great start. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more movie content, hopefully more often now, and I'll see you guys next time.
This is Boomerang from Cartoon Network.